This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Talk about stepping up. Bang! Bang!
It's time to level up your game. Introducing the all-new ESPN app. All of ESPN, all in one place. Your home for the most live sports and the best championship moments.
The electricity is palpable.
Step up your game with no annual contract required. It's the ultimate fan experience. Level up for more on the ESPN app or at stream.espn.com. Sign up now.
This is Julian Edelman from Games with Names. Applebee's just cooked up the ultimate option play with their new Ultimate Trio deal. You can choose from 3 of their delicious appetizers and pair them up with 3 sauces for just $14.99. Craft your perfect trio from over 80,000 different combinations in this flavor-packed plate built for one, or to share if you're generous. You could stick with the classic pairings like boneless wings and buffalo sauce, or you could spice things up and try some unexpected combinations like dipping chicken wonton tacos in their honey Dijon mustard. It's time to head to your neighborhood Applebee's or order online today. That's eating good in the neighborhood.
This is for guys who like being guys. We're Public Rec, and we make clothes that are lightweight, breathable, that look good and feel great, even for summer golf with our new Medina series. Shop now at publicrec.com/radio. Public Rec.
Farm 840 is coming to Minneapolis. Join Willie Nelson, Neil Young, Kenny Chesney, Dave Matthews, and more Saturday, September 20th at Huntington Bank Stadium. Celebrate 40 years of music, food, and family farming. And for your chance to win a pair of tickets now on our contest page, KFAN.com, keyword contest.
A very guest-intensive program today from the Great Minnesota Get-Together. Our last weekday here. I'll be out here for Sunday sermons, 9 a.m. on Sunday. We are off on Labor Day, and then it's Bears Week, as you know, starting on Tuesday. I just finished up with Bill Guerin. We will have, before we're done, John Krasinski, Johnny Athletic will stop by in the 5 o'clock hour. Ben Goessling at 4:30 to talk plenty of Viking stuff. Now, pleased to be joined by Gopher men's basketball coach Niko Medved. How about a round of applause for you? And thank you for coming back, because I know we were going to do it on Wednesday, and then we obviously changed our schedule to go back into studio. So it was very kind of you guys to give us a second shot to have you on. We're pleased to have you.
No, absolutely. Thanks for having me out. It feels great to be back. As you know, I grew up 15 minutes from here. I used to come here all the time, and it's kind of neat to be back. It brings back a lot of memories being out here.
So your best job out here and your hardest and worst?
I tell the story now. They can't hold it against me. You do a lot of things, but this is the only job I got fired from, Dan.
Really?
Yeah. Can you believe that?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I know.
Was it corn-related, or was
No, I was working. I don't remember the stand. I was working at a stand here, and they sold, like, Christmas ornaments and stuff, and I was a stocker, sewerback stocking.
Okay.
I guess one morning a group of us showed up, and a bunch of the stuff had been broken.
Oh, no.
So they blamed a bunch of us, and they let us go.
You were the fall guys.
I was the fall guy.
Oh, my God.
And somehow it didn't get on my resume, or it escaped or whatever, and I'm standing here today. But,
here you go.
That's where you learn about accountability, and, take accountability.
Well, that seems a little unfair. At the time, I bet you it wasn't any fun.
It wasn't.
Because you didn't do anything.
Well, I didn't, but then I'm like, you know what? I get to go to the fair every day, and I don't have to work.
Well, that's true. That's a very, very good point. Well, I kid Guardsy. I was going to wait for maybe question 2 or 3, but I'll go ahead and ask you now, because we used to always get Richard Pitino on this one. Have you yet signed your first contract extension at the University of Minnesota? Because I felt like every 15 minutes, Richard Pitino was getting another contract extension, until obviously he wasn't at the late date. So you haven't signed an extension to the original yet?
No, but
okay.
we can work on it, though. I'd be happy to, but
yes.
not yet. Yeah, not yet.
That's okay.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah. So, I definitely need a lot of help from you on the roster and on the players, because it's a changed group, obviously. It's a brave new world of college football and basketball, quite frankly, in that regard. In the old days, you'd have a bunch of people back, and then we'd know some things about some of those players and where you want them to go. Now it almost feels like a blank slate. So the floor is yours on how, based on what you think you know to this point, you can size up the group of players you have coming in this year.
That's a great point. I mean, obviously, you're right. I mean, the dynamic in college sports has changed. I think this was really unique in that there was only one returning player who played any minutes. So you're really kind of starting over, so to speak.
Yes.
That makes it really challenging. At the same point in time, I think there's an opportunity in that,
Yeah,
so,
you're right.
We have a whole new group. I brought one player with us from Colorado State, Jalen Crocker-Johnson, who started for us. So he's kind of the guy who knows what's going on. Everybody else is new. I think we did a really good job of finding guys, who are great guys, kind of fit our culture. I'm a big believer, especially in year one, you got to have.
So you call it year one, not year zero. PJ, of course, could refer to it as year zero. So you're willing to
get away
accept
with year zero or not?
No, just go with year one.
Okay,
yeah.
I think I let the cat out of the bag.
I think
right?
you can't go back. Exactly.
No, it's year one, but I think it's important to find a group of guys that are going to come to work every day. And I've told them, I'm like, we got a unique opportunity to kind of set whatever this is, a new vision and culture for the program. And I said, hey, if somehow next April when the season's over, if people are more excited about Gopher basketball than they were, then we did our job. I don't know how many. Maybe we win more than I think. I don't want to put any limits on it.
Right.
I think we've got a lot of guys who can shoot the ball. We got a lot of guys who really got good length on the perimeter, maybe a little undersized inside. The one thing I can tell you is I can't tell you who our leading scorer is going to be. It's not like we have a returning all-league player or anything like that. I think we got a lot of guys who have maybe produced at other spots or have ability, but it's going to be kind of interesting to see how it all comes together here. And we just finished, our summer work, so I know them a lot better than I did.
So how much time, refresh my memory on how much time you can, how the rules set up now, in terms of how much time you can spend with them to get to that evaluation.
So, in the summer we get 8 weeks, 4 hours a week on the court. You can do it any way you want. So typically we're going to do 4 days. You might do 45 minutes, hour 15, combination of team workouts, small groups. Later in the summer we're focusing more on the team. Really just trying to get your base concepts in and kind of get an understanding of what they can and can't do. I thought they did a great job. We just brought him back this week, Dan, and so we just started back up. This is actually we give him 7 weeks, 3 weeks off. This is actually our week 8 because we start school on Tuesday. And I was impressed. We start this week, and you know what? How much they were able to retain and do. So, boy, they're a willing group. I'm excited to go to work with them and see what they can do. And I think I saw 10 teams in the Big Ten in the preseason top 25.
10?
Yeah, I've seen up in that high. Now, listen, it's hard to predict in today's day and age who's going to be good and who's not and all that, but that's what we're here for, to challenge ourselves.
Give me a sense, in pro basketball, obviously there's been a big emphasis in recent years on guys who can play multiple positions, with giving you more versatility and flexibility. Is that happening for you, or do you see signs of that already? How would you describe the mix that you have to this point in the roster regarding being multiple?
I know you're a cliche guy, right? But yeah. I do think, I think the positionless thing are guys who can do multiple things on the court. And I think a lot of people think about that offensively, but it's also defensively.
No
I think, being able to switch at different spots, different actions on the floor, having the ability to do that. So positional length, guys who can handle the ball, pass the ball, shoot the ball, rebound, defend. I think that's great. And, that's kind of a little bit how we built our roster in Colorado. And I think you'll see the same thing here. So I think there's an emphasis on that in recruiting, guys that we're recruiting and some of the guys that we brought in. And I like to tell guys we bring in, and I'm like, when somebody brings a player to me and they said, I don't really know what position he is, I love that. It gives us an opportunity to kind of mold what they do on both sides of the ball and do things that play to their strengths. So I don't like to pigeonhole guys. And listen, the guys who can do more things on both ends of the floor, they make you a better team, which makes you look like you know what you're doing as a coach.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I think fans will see that. There's a lot of that as we look to build our roster.
In your first year, do you implement, let's say, for example, the sets you run or the offense you run? Do you tend to do it a little more slowly or a little bit more, I guess you could say, in an elementary fashion, or is it I'm going to throw a bunch at them right from the beginning?
It's a great point. I think, in the summer, I'm really intent on not over-coaching these guys. We have some things we believe in and concepts and how we space, how we cut, some of our terminology. Our teams have always moved the ball and shared it well. So we teach those concepts. But part of it for me, too, is not just, I don't like to tell guys what to do. I try to teach them how to think. And inevitably, it's not about your plays or scheme. It's about players. So I have to figure out what they do. If I give them too much information, they may become robotic, right? So I want to see what they do, how they learn, and inevitably every year a player will teach you something. You're like, boy, that's pretty good. We have to find a way to do more of that for him. Or they do something. It's funny. A lot of the stuff that we do, a player will have done it naturally. Like, I kind of like that. We need to maybe give that a name and figure out how to incorporate it in our motion, in our system. And so I think a lot of that stuff goes on, and how they progress is different year to year. And I think you just have to be able to adjust as a coach with your team. Some guys can take more. Some guys need a little bit less. And so I think you just adjust to that every season.
So you obviously are very familiar with this market. You've spent time here for sure. You know it extremely well, but yet you were gone for a while. So were you gone long enough, even if you were staying in touch and know the market pretty well, to sort of forget maybe some of the realities here? And I'm just curious, now that you've been in the position for a while, if anything has surprised you or anything has struck you that, as knowledgeable as you thought you were, or you'd forgotten, or you didn't quite know about the climate here as it pertains to, in this case, college basketball.
So it's funny. I'm going to kind of talk out of, two sides of my mouth here, but one that surprised me is there's still a lot. People love the U, and I know that's there. They love the U. It's every day I go out and people are just, they tell me how much they love Gopher basketball, how long they've been going to the games. They're really waiting to get back. And so I've been surprised at really how much underlying still enthusiasm there still is. But at the same side, boy, there are days when I've been just kind of surprised at still how much sort of, negativity or just, boy, we can't do this, or, all the reason. And I get both of those. I do. I think both of those are a reality for people. And I'm just I'm not a pie in the sky guy.
Right.
I'm a real, but at the same point in time, I'm a guy who focuses on leveraging our strengths. We got a lot. We've turned around programs at places, and there's a lot of things that we have working in our favor. And it's going to be hard. There's ups and downs, but we can win here.
Yep.
We can do it. There's a lot of underlying things here that are.
Well, I want your next answer to not include false modesty, because you're almost hinting at it already. What do you think is your greatest strength?
I think we're genuine people. I think people who come, players like to play for us. I think we've been able to retain players. I think that, we've developed a reputation now kind of around the country, and even in some of the pro circles of, we develop our guys. I think our guys get better. Like I said, they enjoy playing for us. I think we run a really good kind of modern creative system that way. I think that I am who I am. I'm genuine that way. I think I develop trust with our players, and I think there's high accountability in our program with still high care, and I'm always a big deal. As a coach, I think, can you destroy complacency without destroying confidence? And I think, how can you do that? And I think as a coach, too, is sometimes, man, we got to catch guys doing it right. I mean, listen, we're here to hold the standard. We have a really high standard, but sometimes as a coach, we're just always pointing out what they need to do better. And young people need to hear sometimes they're doing it right. And I think the guys appreciate that. They respond to that. And so I think it's those things that are our strength. Then I would say this, Dan, we have a track record. We can point to guys who've come. We can point to a track record of winning. We can point to a track record of guys getting better, playing at the highest level. So I think as we're selling that to people, hey, we can say, listen, there is a process here in order to do what we need to do.
Yeah, this question is not at all directed at Ben, your predecessor, because I don't really want to get into that anymore. There's really no point. But I have tended to view this particular job as challenging enough that it needs an experienced head coach, that there's just certain built-in challenges to the position here that you need someone who isn't learning that aspect of the job on the job. Do you think that's true?
I think being a head coach anywhere is hard. It's hard enough. And then in today's day and age, it's really a challenge. You're going to get stuff thrown at you all the time. And I just look at all my experiences. you're so much more prepared now than when I first got my first head coaching job at Furman. I'm so much more. 4 years ago, the job was open. I think about, boy, how much better I am now 4 years later to have this opportunity just because of all the things that you've went through. And you really, you can keep the main thing. You don't get too up at things. You don't get too down.
Sure.
You trust yourself and your process. And so I think those things matter here, but I think they matter everywhere,
True.
So I think, for me, I can only speak for me personally. I feel a lot more prepared.
It's such a different
to do this,
role than an assistant coach, right?
Oh man, I mean, there's so many hats you have to wear in this job and manage, and but first and foremost, I see myself as a teacher. I love that, but teaching is not just telling them how to cut. There's so many things. You're teaching human beings, that way. So, and I like to think I'm better than I was when I started as a head coach 13 years ago or whatever. I'd like to think that, 13, 14, whatever it is. I think that holds true for anybody.
There's some coaches we look at maybe unfairly, but we view them as, okay, their strength is more clinical X's and O's. Then there are others we say it's they manage people well, they manage the personalities well, and maybe they leave the X's and O's to a couple of really good assistants to a large degree that they lean on a little bit. What's the percentage for you in terms of success, do you think? How would you lay that out?
I don't know. That's a hard one for me to answer. I think my staff will tell you, I love the X's and O's now. I love it. You know what I mean? So, I'm not the guy who's just, I have an unbelievable staff and I allow autonomy, but there's not anything that I'm not going to be involved with just because I enjoy it too. I enjoy learning. I enjoy getting better. I enjoy that part of the game. But at the same point in time, I'd like to think that, you really do a good job of being emotionally intelligent and understanding people and what motivates them. And everybody's a little bit different. How do we get to the same thing that we want, but maybe in a different way with different individuals, and the same thing with your coaching staff. And I like to think that's a feel thing maybe for us and have that. And to be honest, I know what you're saying, but I just think you got to be able to be successful at managing all those things pretty well.
The best ones,
to be successful. And man, you're learning something every day. So I love the X's and O's. But I think we do a good job of managing people and trying to get the most out of them.
So I think of a legend in this conference like Izzo, and he's kind of viewed as a coach from a different age. In that, even now, you can see him on the sidelines sometimes during the game, certainly during huddles, just pound. He's pounding away. Now, a lot of people say he can do that because, to your point, players trust him because he's shown that he does care about them, over a period of time. But I'm curious to get how you would evaluate. And I'm asking you to do a lot of self-evaluation, which is probably unfair a little bit. But there's some therapy to this. What your approach is. Are you much of a pounder in that sense? And I'm not saying it in a negative way on Izzo, but he's a guy, he's an in-your-face guy a lot and has had great success. Is that you, or is it a little more velvet glove, or how would you describe how hard you come at them in terms of confronting?
It's not a velvet glove and it's not an in-your-face. It's just the standard's the standard. You know what I mean? And I just don't let guys get away with, if that's the way we're supposed to cut, if that's the way we're supposed to sprint back on defense, we do it till we get it right. And I think there's different ways to do that without screaming at guys or whatever. Yeah, there's times you got to get on guys and you got to be honest with them. That's not good enough, And so I think there's ways, there's no velvet gloves, or you can't kind of tiptoe around. You can't be afraid of confrontation. I just think there's different ways. Everyone thinks confrontation's negative. I just think players, that's what they expect.
Yeah.
Every guy that I've ever been around, they want to be held to that. So it's like they know and they smell through coaches who let the BS go. They do, man. I'm telling you, the best ones, they don't like that. And all the great ones, the guys who played in the NBA or whatever for us, man, they'll tell you, Coach wasn't afraid now. He's going to let me know when that's not good enough or I'm not living up to a standard that we expect. And so I think you can do that without always having to on-screen. Sometimes you do.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that because you hear from some coaches or current coaches or even players, they say, well, today's player has to be coached differently. I don't want to necessarily say velvet glove, but a little less confrontationally because of what they've been brought up in a lot of times in AAU stuff, etc., and that it's just that coaches have to adjust to this generation of players. It sounds like you're saying you don't think necessarily players have changed all that much and that they actually do still want to be coached.
Yeah, I think, I just think confrontation can be handled in a different way. You know what I mean? A lot of people, again, think confrontation is, that's not the point. Confrontation is just maybe, holding somebody accountable for something, and you maybe have to do that in a different way. Sometimes guys, too, sometimes guys respond to, they need a little bit more one-on-one time. They need to know, like, you get them in the office and say, come on, man. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, listen, this isn't good enough, and so I think you have to be able to do it that different ways, but I don't think the great coaches or programs, they don't change what they confront. All of us, listen, you got to evolve.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, like, if you're not evolving, you're dying, but how do you evolve without not fundamentally changing some of the core stuff that you believe in? And so I think maybe in certain ways coaches have found that I'm not going to change what I confront.
But how I do it?
How I do it.
Yeah. That makes some sense. Where are we on the whole, are we comfortable where we are in NIL, revenue share, all this stuff?
Boy.
It's such a, we probably do an hour or 2 hours on that alone.
God. Yeah, we just spent 3 hours with the staff the other day going through. Everything's changing by the minute. The big thing for people to understand what's really changed is now you've got these two buckets: the institutional revenue, revenue share. That's set. That's just a direct, salary from the university, and then you've got the NIL piece. The NIL piece is what's being regulated, by Deloitte with the third party stuff. That's still kind of up in the air what that's going to look like here moving forward.
And are you comfortable with the money you have at this point? Is it workable?
It's workable. Do we need to get better to be where I think we need to get in the top part of the Big Ten? Absolutely. But we've come a long way, Dan.
How does the formula work on how is it, there in the NFL, for example, when you make a trade and there's ways to sort of put value on draft choices, almost like a point system, where at least you have a guideline to help you about, okay, who, and in this case, who's going to get this much money as opposed to the next guy getting that much money. How does that work?
No, I think that's a great point. We're all doing that. We all have access to unbelievable analytics, people working on all those things, player values, and then, now, at least with that rev share piece, we're all, you cap it like a pro team.
Sure.
You get percentages of your cap. What would that look like? If you're an all-conference player, what kind of percentage might that look like? You talk to some of the NBA teams, NFL teams. How do they do that? There hasn't been there's still not a cap,
right?
But there wasn't any cap before. You could spend whatever you wanted, but now, yes, that's really a strategy to figure out and understand that every bit you spend right now is going to affect you somewhere else, and we might have to make decisions we haven't had to make before. You have a player who, like, boy, I really like this guy, but we only have so much money. We can't keep both of those guys because he's commanding more money someplace else.
Yeah.
Those are kind of realities we've never had to deal with before that are coming.
And what are the internal politics of that between players?
It's funny. I get asked, God, that must be hard when the players all know what each other are making. And I don't know. It hasn't been an issue for me yet. I'm just kind of honest with them about it.
Right.
It's like, listen, man, we all know what this is here, but we're all making money. That's awesome. But if we're going to let that, get in the way of what we're trying to do and what we're here for, then we're not even getting past first base. We might as well not even, try to get going here this year. And I think we've been able to manage that. The players are smarter than we think. Like they understand what it is, and I don't think there's like a lot of envy of who's making this and that. If you had a good group of guys, they're kind of happy for each other. You know what I mean? Like, that's great that this guy's, making money.
Have you, we'll wrap up fairly soon here. We're chatting with the Gopher men's basketball coach, Niko Medved. Now, you're very familiar with Williams Arena, but now the assumption is you've had time, to sort of check out all the skeletons in there and find all, exactly how decrepit it is or how much it can be improved and all that stuff. Now, is there any part of you, if you're being honest, once you started looking around, when no one else was looking, you go, oh my God, this place does need I know it's got great history. This place needs an awful lot of work.
There might be a couple of mice. There might be a roach somewhere in the office or whatever. I'll say this though, we had some recruits here on campus, and we just had a young man who was here, and they happened to be from the East Coast.
Yeah.
His father was just in. And I'm telling you, one of the things they loved the most was the barn.
Really?
Oh, man, they watch it. This is awesome. This is so cool. Reminds me of the Palestra, or he's a baseball guy, reminds me of Fenway or the old Yankee Stadium. And I love these kind of places, and the players are up there. This is cool. I get to play on a stage. And so I think there's two sides to it. I mean, I understand both of them, but there still is side that people, and kids do love playing. I don't believe it's hindered us in recruiting at all. Maybe there's some of the fan experience that they'd like to be better with the parking, the concessions. I don't know. That's something I have to see here as I get going. But yeah, I mean, there's some nooks and crannies, Dan, of that place that
Yes.
you know what I mean.
Yes.
You might find a mouse. You might find whatever. I haven't seen a rat yet, so that's
encouraging.
Yeah.
You can't. I know you can't talk about specific players, I assume, but there's been a lot of stuff written indicating some interesting names, some tantalizing names, some names with some talent. Are you encouraged by what you have been? How far can you go to tell us?
What I would say is I think it's really cool. I mean, a lot of the players that we've had interest from that are choosing to come and visit Minnesota, they got a ton of options.
Sure.
And the fact that they're taking the time to come here and a lot of times cut out a lot of schools that have had a lot of, maybe more of a history or more established than we are, I think is pretty cool. I think that says something. And so now at the same point in time, that's great. I think it's up, but they're only as good if you get them, right? And then they got to produce when they get here. But I have been excited about that. I think staff's doing a great job, and we've been able to get some guys we're really excited about to campus, and we've gotten them all out here. We've got them all out here to the fair.
Yeah, nice.
It's just good. And
now, so the rules are changed, right? You can feed them, right? Is it all bets are off on that now? You can just start handing out $20 bills. I don't even know how that works.
You got some host money and stuff you can do, but there might have been some Sweet Martha's cookies.
There you go.
I think they tried the cheese curd tacos, fried pickles. We were over, walleye on a stick.
Excellent.
I mean, they're going for it.
Thanks for coming to see us.
Dan,
Much appreciated.
I really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Great hour, half hour, I should say.
You've come
Niko
along with the
Medved,
ornament shop.
Golden Gopher, men's basketball coach. I'm sure we'll talk to him a lot during the season. Thanks again, Niko. We appreciate the time. We got a lot more yet to come from the Great Minnesota Get-Together. In the 5 o'clock hour, Johnny Athletic. We're going to see him in person, which we rarely do in studio. He's going to be here at 5:15. And when we return, let's talk football. National Football League. The season now is officially right around the corner. We're on the verge of Bears Week, right after Labor Day. Ben Goessling covers all of it for the Star-Tribune and for us. He will join us next from the fair.
Talk about stepping up. Bang! Bang!
It's time to level up your game. Introducing the all-new ESPN app. All of ESPN, all in one place. Your home for the most live sports and the best championship moments.
The electricity is palpable.
Step up your game with no annual contract required. It's the ultimate fan experience. Level up for more on the ESPN app or at stream.espn.com. Sign up now.
This is Rob Gronkowski from Dudes on Dudes. Anyone else feeling hungry? Because Applebee's just cooked up the ultimate option play with their new Ultimate Trio deal. You can choose from 3 of their delicious appetizers and pair them up with 3 sauces for just $14.99. Craft your perfect trio from over 80,000 different combinations in this flavor-packed plate built for one, or to share if you're generous. You can stick with the classic pairings like boneless wings and buffalo sauce, mozzarella sticks and marinara, or brew pub pretzels and white cheddar beer cheese. Or you can spice things up and try some unexpected combinations like dipping chicken wonton tacos in their honey Dijon mustard. The choice is yours. The Ultimate Trio is the perfect way to hit all your cravings in one plate and turn appetizers into an entree. It's time to head to your neighborhood Applebee's or order online today. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.
Life moves fast. A new home, a new baby, a new chapter. But without an estate plan, your future's still vulnerable. With Trust and Will, you can name guardians, start a trust, create healthcare directives, and more. All online in about an hour. It's attorney designed, state specific, and built to protect what you love. Plans start at just $199, and every plan is safe, secure, and kept completely private. From families with young kids to adults caring for aging parents, Trust and Will makes it simple to take control, without a law office, paperwork stress, or court delays. Go to trustandwill.com and use code RADIO to save 20%. Start your plan today. Don't wait for life to force your hand. Estate planning is one of the smartest, most loving things you can do. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. See website for details.
Trust and Will.
You guys know I'm always up for a good MVP story, and one of the best is the story of Wasabi Technologies. Wasabi is purpose-built to free businesses from skyrocketing storage costs and unpredictable egress fees from old and top-heavy legacy providers. You know, the big guys. Wasabi is the world's hottest cloud storage company, becoming the go-to provider for professional and collegiate sports teams and leagues around the world, and here's why. From Wasabi's AI-enabled intelligent media storage, Wasabi Air, to the industry's only cloud storage service with triple protection against cyber criminals, data deletion, and ransomware, Wasabi's taken the lead in driving innovation in data storage, eliminating overhead where it matters to deliver you results you can count on and won't break the bank. In fact, Wasabi is up to 80% less than those other guys and doesn't charge a cent for businesses to access their own data. Wasabi, another championship story. Check them out for free at wasabi.com.
Here on the Fan.
Minneapolis, it's time to put on your baggy sweatshirt and get ready to laugh. Comedy icon Adam Sandler is bringing his You're My Best Friend tour to the Xcel Energy Center October 22nd. Don't miss out on brand new jokes, classic bits, maybe even a song or two. Tickets on sale now. Get the full details, KFAN.com. Keyword calendar.
Well, we go from college basketball to professional football. Although our next guest, Ben Goessling, did you ever cover? I know you covered some college football.
Yes.
At the University of Minnesota when you're at the Daily.
Yep.
But how about, did you cover any basketball?
I was not on the basketball beat. Basketball is like the one sport. It's like my white whale. It's the one sport I haven't covered on a
Really?
daily basis.
Interesting.
I covered the Wild for a season.
Yeah.
I did go for hockey. I did baseball for 5 years. Basketball is like the one I have not been on the beat. Have not done Timberwolves or Gophers full time. So been to games, but not anything extensive.
Let's give Mr. Goessling a proper round of applause for coming to see us. The beat writer on the one of several these days.
Yes.
Man, you got like 9 people.
Yeah.
Star Tribune.
I'm the head of the Army, but that's
it. That's the beauty of it.
The ever expanding empire of the Star Tribune Vikings beat.
Standard Heating and Air Conditioning will be the sponsor of the Ben Goessling segments on our show. Again, this year, we always appreciate their continued steadfast loyalty. Where are you, before we talk football?
Yeah.
Because we did talk with the head coach, Niko, moments ago about the ongoing debate regarding Williams Arena.
Yeah.
Where are you on the whole? Guardsy wants it burned down. He's made that clear.
A little dramatic.
Well, maybe a little dramatic.
Yeah.
Others have said you got to hold on to it. Yeah. So where are you on this whole Williams Arena thing?
I would be, I think, in the camp of renovation.
Renovation?
Which is hard to do, I realize, because then it's like, where do you play for a couple of years? But if you can keep the history of the building and get some of the amenities that you need for recruiting, you need for just modernizing the place. I mean, it is, we all know it. The wayfinding in that building, trying to get around is very, very difficult to do. But when that place is full, which doesn't happen as much, but I can remember going to games as a kid in the Clem era. When that place is full, it is a really, really hard place to play. And it'd be fun to see them get back to that, but there's a lot of things that have to happen in that building to make it work. So I would probably be in the camp of trying to renovate it.
All right. Thanks for coming to see us, first of all.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, Johnny Athletic will join in the 5 o'clock hour of the show. So by the end of the 2025 campaign, which acquisition will have greater impact on life in the NFC North? The Vikings adding Adam Thielen, the Green Bay Packers adding maybe the best defensive player of this generation.
I would probably say Micah Parsons may be more impactful than Thielen. But I think Adam Thielen will have a bigger impact on the Vikings than people might have expected, simply because he's going to come in and he's plug and play. I think he's going to come in and be a big piece of this offense. But, I mean, Micah Parsons is one of those guys that if you can get him,
yeah,
it changes a lot of things. And I think them making that deal, I mean, we've seen Kenny Clark a lot over the years, and he's had a lot of big days against the Vikings, certainly against Garrett Bradbury. But for them to get Micah Parsons, I think that changes a lot about that front seven. And there's a lot of good pass rushers in the NFC North right now, and that puts them, I think, pretty high on the list when you add him to the other guys they have.
I think he's 26, too, so you're talking about a guy literally in his prime.
Yes.
He has been, I think I heard Charch say this morning, the only player that has his combination of sacks or a couple other key stats through the first 4 years of his career was Reggie White.
Yeah.
Who, of course, also ultimately ended up in Green Bay.
Right.
And I thought Charch made another really good point regarding, because people can say, well, Packers have basically $100 million in two players. Yeah. But as he said, part of the reason they can get away with that, at least for a while, is they draft well.
Yeah.
And so they have not had to spend a lot of ancillary other money the way, frankly, for example, the Vikings have had to at a number of key positions.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that is a good way to control costs if you can draft well. And for the Vikings, it's been, the undrafted free agents are a bigger piece of this team this year, and they're stockpiling draft picks for next year. But part of the reason you have to hit those things is if you're going to pay a quarterback and then you want to pay a transformational defensive player like Micah Parsons, you have to have some spots on the roster that just aren't as expensive.
Exactly.
I mean, it's a cost control thing as much as anything else. So if you can say goodbye to some of your veteran players when they start to get expensive, and maybe when they start to break down a little bit, it makes sense, especially when you were paying a quarterback. Now, is the quarterback that they're paying worth the money?
That's a fair point. That's a still very essential question.
I think that's
not yet been answered.
Yeah, I think the jury is very much out on that, and I think they are probably heading toward a point where there's going to be a decision on him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have probably a year or two where you have to figure that out, but with that kind of a defensive player, I think it does change a lot of things, and it's going to be very interesting to see how they factor into the division, because I think they were going to be a factor anyway, and this is certainly a boost to their chances.
I have, I think, a partial answer for how you deal with the Vikings, other teams in this division, with the Micah factor.
Yeah.
And again, it was a really good Friday football feast, in which I think it was Chad Greenway said, run the ball.
Yeah.
Run the ball. There's more. Because, in fact, if you listen to Jerry Jones says, hey, part of the reason we ultimately had to do this, even though we didn't want to do this, is we couldn't stop the run. Well, obviously, Micah was part of that last year, and he's more of a pass-rushing guy. So the moral of the story for the Vikings is they have another reason, I think legitimate reason, to say, well, let's try to make him semi-irrelevant by not being afraid to establish the run and making that a bigger part of what we do.
Yeah, I think that's right, and I think they will do that. I do think this year is going to look different. You may get your wish that they
finally,
more committed to the run than they've been. I think a lot of this, the investments they made were in a different approach. They want to be more physical. They want to play a style that is going to wear defenses down, and it also makes it easier for J.J. McCarthy. I think the degree to which they can simplify things for him, at least in year one, is a lot of what they're trying to do. Putting veterans just about everywhere on that offense other than Donovan Jackson around him was part of the idea. And I think they also want to make it so that he's not facing 3rd and 8s. He's not facing a lot of times where he has to be a drop-back quarterback.
Sure.
You can bootleg, you can play action, you can make quick throws. A lot of those things just make it easier to play the position as he's getting used to it, because we're talking about a 22-year-old that still has not thrown a pass in the NFL. Certainly has picked up the offense, I think, with quite a bit of acuity, but there's still going to be things he has to learn. And
Sure.
I think they are trying to make it as easy as possible for him. So if you can run the ball effectively, which I think they have the people to do, it makes sense to invest in that part of the game.
Plenty more to get to with Ben Goessling. A quick pause here. We'll continue with him. As I mentioned, Johnny Athletic yet to come. Are we doing top 5 at 5 today? Are you bored with it? No, I guess we're not. Yeah, that's a good point. And then who knows what else. We are at the Great Minnesota Get-Together on yet another in an endless series of gorgeous early fall, late summer, whatever you want to call it, afternoons.
Talk about stepping up.
It's time to level up your game. Introducing the all-new ESPN app. All of ESPN, all in one place. Your home for the most live sports and the best championship moments.
The electricity is palpable.
Step up your game with no annual contract required. It's the ultimate fan experience. Level up for more on the ESPN app or at stream.espn.com. Sign up now.
This is Rob Gronkowski from Dudes on Dudes. Anyone else feeling hungry? Because Applebee's just cooked up the ultimate option play with their new Ultimate Trio deal. You can choose from 3 of their delicious appetizers and pair them up with 3 sauces for just $14.99. Craft your perfect trio from over 80,000 different combinations in this flavor-packed plate built for one, or to share if you're generous. You can stick with the classic pairings like boneless wings and buffalo sauce, mozzarella sticks and marinara, or brew pub pretzels and white cheddar beer cheese. Or you can spice things up and try some unexpected combinations like dipping chicken wonton tacos and their honey Dijon mustard. The choice is yours. The Ultimate Trio is the perfect way to hit all your cravings in one plate and turn appetizers into an entree. It's time to head to your neighborhood Applebee's or order online today. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.
Life moves fast. A new home, a new baby, a new chapter. But without an estate plan, your future's still vulnerable. With Trust and Will, you can name guardians, start a trust, create healthcare directives, and more. All online in about an hour. It's attorney designed, state specific, and built to protect what you love. Plans start at just $199, and every plan is safe, secure, and kept completely private. From families with young kids to adults caring for aging parents, Trust and Will makes it simple to take control, without a law office, paperwork stress, or court delays. Go to trustandwill.com and use code RADIO to save 20%. Start your plan today. Don't wait for life to force your hand. Estate planning is one of the smartest, most loving things you can do. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. See website for details.
Trust and Will.
You guys know I'm always up for a good MVP story, and one of the best is the story of Wasabi Technologies. Wasabi is purpose-built to free businesses from skyrocketing storage costs and unpredictable egress fees from old and top-heavy legacy providers. You know, the big guys. Wasabi is the world's hottest cloud storage company, becoming the go-to provider for professional and collegiate sports teams and leagues around the world, and here's why. From Wasabi's AI-enabled intelligent media storage, Wasabi Air, to the industry's only cloud storage service with triple protection against cyber criminals, data deletion, and ransomware, Wasabi's taken the lead in driving innovation in data storage, eliminating overhead where it matters to deliver you results you can count on and won't break the bank. In fact, Wasabi is up to 80% less than those other guys and doesn't charge a cent for businesses to access their own data. Wasabi, another championship story. Check them out for free at wasabi.com.
Stay tuned.
Country music stars Rascal Flatts are making their return to Minnesota January 23rd at XL Energy Center. Catch all their timeless hits along with special guests Lauren Elena and Chris Lane. Tickets on sale now. Get all the details, KFAN.com. Keep your calendar.
Goessling is with us in the shadow of the grandstand, our usual KFAN location. I think remaining shows, there's a couple tomorrow, I'm assuming, that are out here.
Yeah.
And then I have sermons, and then Monday at 2 is the power trip rescheduled, correct? Is that when that's scheduled? That's going to take place?
Yep.
So that's pretty much wraps things up for us from the Great Minnesota Get-Together on a banner year for sure. Ben, there's a lot of in the Vikings community.
Yeah.
There seems to be a lot of angst about the fact that for the moment on the active roster, I think we have only 4 corners.
Yes.
So should we be worried about that, or is that just a continuation of the belief that we don't mind playing 3 safeties because we've got such versatility that we can move all these players around? What do you think?
Well, it's funny. Vikings Twitter let me know that, because I was the one that asked Goessling about that the other day, having 4 corners on the roster, and Vikings Twitter let me know that he kind of smirked in response to the question. And the thing that he came back with was we play a lot of big nickel. We play a lot of 3 safety stuff, and I think that helps, but you still... I think are going to need more. I mean, they brought Fabian Moreau back, which I think helps a little bit, but they were in this spot last year where they had a lot of these players, and they said, no, we still need to go get Stephon Gilmore, and I would not be surprised at all if they continue to look for help at that spot, just because we've seen it over and over, whether it's just needing guys because people get hurt or
injury.
You play a lot of sub-package stuff and you need a third corner that you trust. I still think it just seems to me like there's going to be another move there.
Well, what's weird is what we hear is, well, we're going to have such a good pass rush it won't matter. How often does that really work out? Obviously, a good pass rush will help.
Yeah.
But the way this league works, people are still going to get passes off, so you still need competence back there. It's too much an important part of the game.
It is, and they do, I think, early in the year at least, you'll see some of this where everybody's trying to throw underneath on them because there's going to be so much pressure that they feel like it's a way to force the ball underneath, and you can kind of run and tackle at that point. But we've seen it the last couple of years. People eventually say, if we can figure out the pressure packages and we can answer it with our protections, we can get the ball downfield. And if that happens, I think you're going to need guys that can cover, and they may hit on guys like Jeff Okudah. They're excited about Isaiah Rodgers, but I think having depth at that spot is something I would not expect that group is finalized as it currently exists.
Rodgers, look, I think a lot of this goes back to having enough faith in Flores that he knows, he understands talent enough and he can get something out of players. But it's still, I think to a little extent, you kind of have to see it on Rodgers, right?
Yeah.
Even though I know all the signs are promising and they're pleased and they think he can make the jump, it hasn't happened yet.
No, it hasn't. And
even Okudah, same thing.
Yeah. You're going to have a couple of guys that are going to get tested, I think, because you play a lot of quarterbacks in the schedule. The first two are young, but then you get Joe Burrow, you get Aaron Rodgers, you get, when they come back from the bye, that stretch where it's the Eagles, the Chargers, the Lions, and Ravens in back-to-back games. So there's a lot of quarterbacks on that list that are going to test this secondary, and if they're not able to cover with those guys, you essentially need at least one of those two to hit. You need Rodgers or Okudah to hit, maybe both. Mm-hmm. So I do think that's something that is going to continue to be something we talk about a lot, because there's a lot that a lot of the people on that list have to prove.
We talked about Thielen earlier in that acquisition. Do we know? I had the feeling that you and others sort of felt like that maybe the ship had sailed and that it was unlikely they were going to come to terms. Carolina was asking for too much. Do we know what changed? Did they come down in the asking price, or did the Vikings get a little bit more aggressive and say, all right, if we have to throw in a 4, we'll throw in a 4?
Well, I think initially it was they were asking quite a bit, and there was a feeling that things had kind of hit a standstill over the weekend. I kind of thought, if this happens, it's going to take a little more time. It's going to take somebody moving. Yeah. And I think a lot of what the Vikings had to do was get creative, because if what the Panthers really wanted was a 4, the Vikings didn't have one for next year. So they had to figure out some different ways to get the equivalent of a 4. I'd heard they were looking for a 3, and there's kind of this feeling of maybe they'll end up with a 5 or something in that range. But I think everybody kind of was doing the stare down thing a little bit, and the Panthers said, well, we still want to use this guy, and they'd basically given him a raise before this year, so they were not compelled to do it unless they got something in return that they felt was the appropriate compensation. So there was a lot to figure out there, and I don't know that it was that anybody was dug in, but it just took a while to get to the point where you say, all right, how do we make this work, and then how do we make the contract stuff work? They can afford it, but Thielen's going to restructure and take a little bit of a pay cut to help them out there, too. So there's just a lot of moving parts on this.
Well, and there is no reason to think he can't contribute, right?
Yeah.
He is older, but he's not in a position where they're leaning on him to be the main guy.
Right.
You're looking for a guy who you can plug in pretty quickly, right?
Yeah.
And one would assume fairly seamlessly.
Yeah, and that's a lot of the appeal with him, because he knows the offense, and he's actually worked out with J.J. McCarthy the last couple of summers. That's not with a defensive back there that's not in pads, all of those things. Timing is not going to completely be developed from that, but I think there's enough there that if he needs to start week 1, they can do it. Because
I'd be surprised if he doesn't.
Yeah, I would too. I think that they feel comfortable enough with him and his ability to pick things up that it's not going to be hard to get him ready to go for that game. So those first 3 weeks become a big piece of this, and then when they get Jordan Addison back, I think he kind of becomes that, hey, we need a conversion on 3rd and 8. He's running a crossing route underneath, and he was one of the best red zone receivers in the NFL in terms of touchdowns. I think it was like Devontae Adams and Travis Kelce were the only guys that were better than him over like his last 3 or 4 years in Minnesota with Kirk Cousins. So if you have a guy like that is that good at finding space in the red zone, that can only help a young quarterback as he's trying to figure out how to navigate reduced space in the red zone as well.
Top of the hour pause now. We got one more segment with Ben. Johnny Athletic is going to join after that as well. I'm sure we'll talk with Johnny a little bit about Guardsy's game yesterday. The Gophers win their regular season opener against Buffalo, University of Buffalo, and they're preparing now to take on the Red Hot. Suddenly, the team I disparaged, Northwestern State, destroyed, was it Alcorn? I think it was Alcorn A&M or Alcorn
sounds
State.
right.
I think
Alcorn State.
Their first victory in like 4 seasons. So we'll get to that with Johnny. We'll get to some Viking stuff. Who knows what else is when he stops by the booth. But a little bit more with Ben when we continue from the Great Minnesota Get-Together here on The Fan.
This is Rob Gronkowski from Dudes on Dudes. Applebee's just cooked up the ultimate option play with their new Ultimate Trio deal. You can choose from 3 of their delicious appetizers and pair them up with 3 sauces for just $14.99. Craft your perfect trio from over 80,000 different combinations in this flavor-packed plate built for one, or to share if you're generous. You can stick with the classic pairings like boneless wings and buffalo sauce, or you can spice things up and try some unexpected pairings like dipping chicken wonton tacos in our honey Dijon mustard. It's time to head to your neighborhood Applebee's or order online today. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.
We don't give a damn about fashion trends. We're Public Rec, and we make clothes for guys who don't chase styles. We build our brand as a cheat code for guys who want to look good without looking like they tried too hard. We're talking lightweight, breathable classics made to wear all day, any day, even in the summer. And with our new Medina series, we've got you on the golf course too. Shop cool, comfortable, low-key impressive clothes at publicrec.com/radio. Public Rec.